Barry Smith,
Here, present.
Andy Jefferson,
Present.
Heather McHugh,
Here.
Dan Kusher,
Here.
Paul Shanoy,
Hello.
Irene Hool,
Here.
Sue Robbins.
Here.
I entertain a motion from the Finance Committee to reopen the public hearing on the warrant for the 2020 Fall Town Meeting.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
All right, so tonight we are in our town administrator and our assistant is here, Susan Fiacco and Carter Terenzini. Tonight we have the following articles that we're going to be covering. We're going to be looking at Article 1, adjusting the FY21 operating budget, Article 2, prior fiscal year bills, Article 3, which is the fire department retirement, Article 5, amending the FY20 budget, Article 6, which is sewer receipts, Article 12, which is the road stabilization fund, Article 18, which is repairs to the municipal center ramps, and then Article 19, the police cruisers. So those are the articles that we're going to be covering with Carter tonight, and Carter was nice enough to forward out a document this afternoon that you all should have received from Sue that outlined his proposed motions on these various articles. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with those documents, and I'd ask Carter to walk us through it. If anybody has a question, please right away raise your hand and ask, and we'll do our best to get the answers for you. So, Carter, if you want to start with Article 1, which is to adjust the fiscal year 21 budget.
Sure. So first, I want to make sure you understand that these are draft. They need to be double checked in the morning. There's going to be an error or two in them that I've already caught that I will bring to your attention. Article 1 is a three-part article. The first is to vote it as a block, and I've already mentioned to Mark, I'm sure I'll need to graftinize, if you will, some of the motions. These are based upon my experience and not yet a working familiarity with how you do things. The A paragraph will be $225,000. You'll see the 20,000 elsewhere a little bit later on. $145,000 is to backfill expenses in the town administrator's personnel account. You have a $45,000 deficit roughly in that item right now. You will need to pay my expenses through until most likely mid-February, late February, and then you will have 4 months of your new town administrator. I don't know what the pay of that person is going to be just yet. I've used 40,000 as 25% of 160, and that all tallies out at 145,000. You have your search firm. Bernie's package normally runs in the 8 to 11. Depends upon exactly which. If you have some add-on pieces, you have some advertising and such to do, depending upon the candidates that you have. Sometimes the first round of interviews is upon them. Sometimes the second round, if it's done here in town, if COVID permits that. Sometimes that is done on the town's dime, if you will. Accounting. We've had the accounting assistant has been out on leave. She came back today. That service has been bought through Kinshirf and Associates, Eric Kinshirf, an accounting firm. And we've had a vacancy in the town accountant's position. I've got a plan that I've kind of started to vet. I've sent that off to town council and labor council today. But we're burning some serious money there for a contract town accountant. Elections and registrations, personnel and expenses. Our clerk is out on some leave. We have the administrative assistant in that office out on leave going in, and the state has issued some additional requirements for those elections. That tallies out at $225,000 all told. Happy to answer any questions on those particular amounts and how we got them before I move on to paragraph B.
I have a couple of questions, Carter, if I may. Is any of the election and registration money eligible for CARES Act reimbursement, or is all the CARES money already accounted for?
Some of it may be eligible for reimbursement. Unfortunately, with not able to have ready access to the town clerk, we may not know that, and we don't know how long she may be out on leave. I certainly hope we can under-expend all of these items, but bearing in mind that we're not going to make any budget adjustments until the annual town meeting. I've been perhaps a little bit cautious on the other side of the fence.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense to me. And then the other question, I was just going to say, like what you just sort of said, that if we needed additional funding for the town administrator's salary, depending on what the select board decides to do in hiring a new town administrator, you can adjust that at the Springtown meeting as well to get.
We can, although they can't sign a contract without funds on hand. However, I'm looking at conceivably reorganizing the assistant town administrator's position to another classification, which I'm going to leave it open for a while I go through that.
Oh, that'll free up some money
analysis.
too.
And I think that there may be some dollars in there.
Yep.
We do have to remember we're coming into budget season, and I'm going to be trying to tackle the preparation of a budget, frankly, without much backup staff and without good familiarity with your systems and your processes. So I may have to tap that for some temporary assistance.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Go ahead, Barry.
A little confusion on the town administrative. This is for his severance.
So you essentially have a negative. Let me get to that sheet for a moment. I've got a breakdown that'll help me, Barry. So your line item is roughly $45,000 in deficit for the town administrator right there. So I take $45,000 of arrears or deficit, however you want to cast that.
And Carter, that's because we paid his severance of about $145, and we paid for several months of July, August, September, October, etc. Is that correct?
Yes. Can you bear with me just one moment, please?
Oh, just walked off into the sunset.
Yeah, we walked off to the spreadsheet.
You went for a swim.
Yeah, you had regular salaries through the 1st of August, and then you had a severance package of close to 173 all in. Right now, that line item's at about a $44,000 deficit.
Yeah.
So this 145 covers that deficit plus adding a town administrator contract starting in, say, March.
Yeah, and I've figured 30 hours a week is what I'm hoping I can keep my time to. It might be a little bit healthy. We could probably bring it down a little bit if folks are really uncomfortable.
No, as a matter of fact, I want you to go in the other direction. I want to make sure.
But I really don't like to do that if I can avoid it.
But a little, we had budgeted for fiscal 21, 145 salary line item. We paid some months of that, and then we paid the big severance. So we would be in a deficit on that. If it's all coming out of that particular line item, we'd be in a deficit on that line item because we paid for a full year plus 3-4 months.
Yes, sir.
So that's what, that leaves me confused as to why we have a 145 on the town administrator
Okay.
personnel line item.
So
Extra.
you had a budget appropriation of 147.5.
Yep.
You then paid on 07-09 and 07-23 regular payroll.
Yep.
You then paid, and I don't know what the settlement agreement was or anything else. You then paid $175,000.
Okay.
That puts you about 34,000 in the hole.
Yes.
You've then had 2 pays to me, which is brings it up to about 45,000.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the arrears as of today. I have figured that I'm going to be here probably 6 months through the end of February, roughly 30 hours a week.
Right.
And that's, quite frankly, that's probably on the low side if we can't get some lower paid boots on the ground in here to help with budget and a few other things.
Okay. So the town administrator personnel line item is for both Tim and for you.
Yes, and for your incoming TA,
Okay.
and I don't know where you'll land with that, but I've assumed you could be at 160. And we would hope to have them in place for March 1, as Mark said. So we got the arrears of 45, roughly 60, one on me, roughly 40 on the incoming TA. So there we go.
Okay.
Carter, could I interrupt for a second? Would it make sense to increase that a little bit more to give the selectmen more flexibility in hiring so that they're not hamstrung going into negotiations, so that they have, nobody needs to know what that number is because nobody will understand what that is. We could just say we're paying you, but would it make sense to have a little bit of play in there to give the select board an opportunity if they have to negotiate higher or harder?
I truly think if I can stay to the 30 or stay a little bit below, and if we don't fill the assistant town administrator right away, and if we adjust it a little bit, I think we're going to be okay.
Okay.
We can certainly bring that to 150 if the committee feels that that's a better place to be. Because remember, 5 for 4 months is really 20 on salary, because you only have to have enough money on hand to fund the first 4 months of the contract in the fiscal year.
Understood. I'd be more comfortable at 150 there. Gopal, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, my question for Carter is, Carter, you mentioned that the town clerk is on leave, you don't know when she'll be back, he or she, and that you're going into a budgeting season, you don't know our processes and so on, and you're really going to be busy. So my question is, should we budget such that we have the flexibility, if you're willing, for you to be going to 40 hours, we budget it. If that is not possible and you can only do 30, we still have accounted for it to go between 30 and 40.
Truthfully, you would be horribly overpaying me
Okay.
to do what is baseline work in many instances.
Okay.
I would prefer, if worse comes to worse, to try to, get a strong admin assist. The larger issue is people, not the
Yep.
dollars. It's finding good people that know what we need to do. A good, strong admin assistant can do much of the budgeting.
Is the money for the admin assistant here?
I would
Personnel.
I would take it out of personnel. You carry these very individual line items for every single person, but I'm going to consider it an omnibus personnel line item and use the assistant town administrator's money should we need it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have budgeted enough so that you have the money to do what needs to be done to get the budget done.
I think that if we go to 150, as Mark is suggesting, I think that if nothing else goes wrong, we're okay money-wise. The larger issue truly is finding the right kind of person.
Yeah.
You can't just take anybody and say, by the way, start taking this in from the departments and plugging it into the spreadsheets, and developing these charts and graphs.
Mark?
Go ahead, Sue. Go
A
ahead, Sue.
voice from the dark. I would feel much better if that town administrator personnel number went to 150. I
Okay.
think that gives us a little bit more leeway, and I would feel more comfortable allowing the selectmen to be in a good position.
I agree. I agree on that. Any other questions on these transfers? All right, go, Carter, if you want to go down to B.
Sure. So the fire department needs basically to reallocate. They have the 4-leaf permitting program. They really need to get up and running. Unfortunately, the chief can't be with us tonight. So this is a transfer from personnel to expenses in order to accommodate that 4-leaf permitting implementation. We have sufficient monies. That budget is frankly heavy for the moment. You had funded for the full-time chief, full-time fire inspector. We're not going to hit that mark. So we can move those dollars without any negative impact upon the fire department budget.
And they're still searching for the inspector, correct?
They are, sir.
Okay. Any questions on B? All right, C.
So C, we discovered that the appropriation for debt excluded interest was about $300,000 higher than it needs to be. So we've got to reduce that because when we look at the form that we submit to the state to show them the debt on the payments on debt excluded debt, they wouldn't line up. We would be short of revenue. So we would have an appropriation and then we wouldn't be able to match the appropriation against the revenue. So this will just line this up. And I think I gave your chair a heads up on this yesterday or earlier today. I can't remember.
You did.
Again, on item B, once I get,
Mark, Barry has a question.
Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah. So this is what happens when you let me read a municipal accounting textbook.
So if I take that book away from you, will that limit your questions?
Well, no, because the course I took at Harvard taught me
I'm sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
anyway, the debt excluded interest is money that we owe, right?
that is our payments on
That's
debt that is
300
excluded.
303,000 is a lot of interest. And so I'm confused. How could we be off by 3? I could see being off by 3,000, but 300?
This is going to be a horrible answer. I wasn't here. I honestly don't know. And I truly don't have anybody that I can ask and get that sorted out, Barry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, in defense of Carter here on this, Barry, too, in defense of everything, if you remember, going into that town meeting in June, the budget numbers were changing by the minute.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
For
yeah.
whatever reason. And we were getting updates left and right. There were changes here, money moving here, money moving there. If this is the extent of what Carter's finding for issues, I think we're ahead of the game. And I thank Carter for doing this. I understand the frustration of members of the Finance Committee because is a very confusing period back in May and June with the budget, lack of information. We're trying to get information. numbers are changing, going into meetings at the last minute, getting numbers, being told, oh, that's wrong, I'll have to double check the numbers. So, right now, let's try to, if Carter says this has to be done, he caught the error, let's go ahead and fix it. That's my 2 cents on this issue. Go ahead, Irene.
Question is this. If I am hearing and understanding this correctly, we budgeted to pay 2.4 million, and I'm just going to round. We only have to pay 2.1 million, which means we have, quote, an extra
No,
$300,000. Okay, that's
No.
why I'm asking. What
It's
am I
excluded,
missing?
it's excluded debt. So
Okay,
we would now, instead of raising 2.4 on your tax bill, we're only gonna raise 2.1. It does not free up
Ah,
levy capacity because it's
gotcha.
outside the levy.
okay, gotcha.
Exactly. If this was your normal and ordinary debt that was not excluded,
We'd be having a party right now.
yes, we would. So whenever excluded debt goes up or down, while it has an impact upon the tax rate, it essentially, for all practical purposes, is off budget because the revenue matches the expense dollar for dollar.
Gotcha, okay.
Go Paul? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go Paul had his hand up, then Dan.
Does this mean it's good for the residents in the sense that they have
Yes,
come up
our
with
taxes won't go up as high.
won't go up as high? That's a
Correct,
good thing.
because we're raising $300,000 less. Dan?
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
Any other questions on Article 1?
In paragraph B, I'll be, and again, I'll be correcting all the math tomorrow when I've set this. I talked with Mark earlier today. I didn't have motions ready. I didn't want to disappoint him. So I got this together, but I will be double checking everything tomorrow. And we'll shoot that out as soon as we have that done.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll move on. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, I just looked up the retirement of debt summary in our big budget book. And darn it, I just lost the page. Hang on. The principal, yeah, was 4,000,001 and change. And God, I can't stand this. Give me a second. The interest. Where the heck did it go?
Barry, if I can interrupt you on that, I wouldn't
Yeah.
pay attention to that budget book because this was based on the bond issue that was done after the budget book was put together. So the
Yeah,
numbers in that
but I
budget
have
book,
the little summary also.
okay,
Okay, it just seems like an awful lot to be off. Over 300,000. Is anybody driving around in a really cool car all of a sudden?
we haven't raised it yet.
No, I bought it. I always buy the new car before I start at the new place, Barry.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Go ahead, go Paul.
But the thing
I'm
is,
looking around the parking lot.
I'm just looking to see if this is good news for the residents, right? It means for the last few years, all the news has been that we have been increasing taxes, whether it's overrides or whatever else. Is this something that when we write a recommendation, can we at least
No,
mention that this is good
no,
for the residents?
no. No, and I'll tell you why. This is the first year, this debt service is the first year or the second year, or maybe the permanent financing rather, of the DPW building. And so we had never paid this before. What the good news is the taxes aren't going to go up as much as originally anticipated. So it's not saving, no one's going to see a decrease. The increase isn't going to be as significant.
But that's
I hope
good.
that makes sense. It's still good news. Don't misunderstand me. But it's not all of a sudden people are going to see a decrease in their taxes
Yeah.
because of the 300,000.
Mark?
Yes, Sue, go ahead.
Yes. Carter, would you mind checking those numbers again for the expense, just to be on the safe side?
And I want to be clear, every number in this is going to be double checked
Okay,
between now and before we release it. I did speak with Mark earlier today and I told him I didn't really have motions And I didn't want to disappoint him tonight, so I took some time and banged these things out as best I understand them. And I did start with saying, please, bear with me. I mean, I wouldn't take any of these to the bank tonight.
But is it safe to say, Carter, is it safe to say that the line items that you're touching here are the line items you're gonna touch? You're just gonna refine the numbers.
I'm just
within
gonna
those.
double check the math. That 331 is not gonna change. We'll get you a better explanation. There's not gonna be any substantive change here. There will
Gotcha.
be proofreading, and there will be better documentation provided to you prior to the fall town meeting. But nothing substantial is gonna change here unless it's something we discuss here tonight.
Because
Understood. Go ahead,
because
Sue.
I know Tim has always worked with the banks to run, when he would sell bonds and everything, and they would run all the numbers. So they may have made just a wrong number somewhere.
And I believe that's where it came from, but I don't want to cast aspersions in any fashion.
Okay.
But I will get you a better explanation. That's all I can promise you tonight.
Yep.
I appreciate that. All right, moving on to article number
Mark?
2. Yep, go ahead, Dan.
I had a quick question going back to part A of Article 1. I
Yep.
forgot to ask it earlier. So there's the right above the line items there. It says 245,000, but then the total of the line item says 225,000.
Right, and that's where paragraph B came in, and it's going to become 230,000 when we moved the town administrator personnel to 150,000.
So
Okay.
the number under A, the 245 is A and B added together?
No, it's a
No?
straight out error.
Oh, sure, okay, I got
Got
you.
it.
It's a straight out error, trying to get this pushed out the door to you.
Oh,
Mark.
okay, so to say 230,000,
It's
gotcha.
gonna say 230, yep.
All right, thanks.
Okay,
And
gonna
B is
ask again
gonna,
because we
and B
keep
is gonna
bouncing
say
back.
20,000.
okay. I'm gonna ask again, just to bounce back, because every time I move on, we go back. Are there any other questions on Article 1? Okay. Carter, Article 2, unpaid bills?
Yeah, wow.
There's a lot of unpaid bills.
It is a lot of unpaid bills. It's more than I'm used to. I'm told that you had a new staff member that did not come from the public sector and did not understand, and that the majority of these line items comes from that particular department. Otherwise, in the normal course of events, this probably would have been $3,000, perhaps 3 firms with $3,000.
The big one to E.L. Harvey, that is our curbside pickup.
Bear with me a minute, please.
Harvey is our trash pickup.
It is, okay, just wanted to make sure. Wow, those are a lot of bills to miss at the end of a fiscal year.
Yes, sir. And yes, E.L. Harvey is your residential trash pickup.
See,
And we're
that's,
taking this money from free cash?
Regrettably.
Okay, so just so the finance committee knows, this takes a 4/5 majority to pass town meeting, so it's near unanimous. We're gonna need, I think, we're gonna need a really good explanation to the town meeting, because I've never seen in all my years a number this significant in unpaid bills going into a town meeting. Carter's right, you usually see between $1,000 and $4,000. To see something this big is,
usually,
In my other town, Mark, I've got 2 bills under $200.
yeah, my unpaid bills total $605 at my town meeting on Saturday,
Yeah.
so.
Mark,
Yes, go ahead, Sue.
usually we just have like $200, $100 bill, but E. Harvey really surprises me. I don't know why we owe Town of Westboro $1,600. Merrick O'Connell, I don't understand that as well. And Renard, the HVAC, those are something that I've just never seen these before as unpaid bills.
I know. Well, we'll get an explanation before town meeting. Obviously, the town incurred these expenses and the town has to pay these bills. We have to
Right.
pay our bills, so we really don't have a choice. They would have been paid last fiscal year if they came in before June 30th. So something happened in the, whatever happened before the end of the fiscal year.
The good
So-
news is your fiscal 20 free cash will be $57,000 higher.
You know, Cardi, you're taking a black cloud and giving us a silver lining. Thank you. Any other questions on the unpaid bills?
No,
Go ahead, Gopal.
yeah, the only question I had is, I'm concerned you're saying that it needs a 4/5 majority for this.
That's the law to pass bills
And
from
if it
previous
doesn't
fiscal years.
pass, what is our option?
We don't have an option. Only town meeting can pay these bills.
So we could get sued by these guys.
I would imagine E.L. Harvey's not gonna be happy being out $50,000.
You just pay it next quarter.
Yeah, we'd have to come back to another town meeting and pay it.
They'll have to wait till your annual town meeting or your
Correct.
special within your annual or your special or however you organize it here.
Now, I have a question, especially with the Harvey one, which is probably the most pertinent. Was that money that was budgeted in FY '20 and which should have been encumbered?
I think
Or
that's what
was this an
Carter,
unexpected expense?
I think that's what Carter is saying, that they should have been paid. It was budgeted. They should have been paid last fiscal year out of the appropriation. They didn't get to the accountant by July 15th, so they couldn't encumber the money. These were discovered after the books were, after the July 15th date, when you can't pay any more bills from the previous fiscal year. And that's why our free cash will be $57,000 higher, because we turned that money back.
Okay. Okay, so that's the important thing, and that may need to be stressed at the town meeting, was that these were not unexpected. It's just a question of timing, and that we
Correct.
had in fact appropriated the money to pay these. We just failed to do so in the manner required by law.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Is Irene gonna write that blurb?
I will if you want me to.
Article 3, Carter.
You have a fund of some fashion that pays to those who retire from your fire department under certain circumstances. The estimate for this year is just around 12,000, so I've just rounded it to 12,500. And this is coming from free cash as well. And when we're done with the articles, Mark's got a small schedule that we can show you how we're funding the warrant articles that relate to the general fund.
Okay. Article 4 is going to be bypassed.
As of today, it looks like it's going to be passed over, yes.
Yep. And then Article 5 is shortfalls in the FY20 budget that we need to fix. You want to walk us through that?
Yes, my understanding is that the accounts were overdrawn on the debt side by around 71,000. Your street lights around 4,000, about $58 in HRs. So that's right around $76,000. And if we had greater free cash, frankly, they would just be put on the recap sheet and cleaned up. If we had greater new growth, I'm sorry. So this will be paid from free cash as well.
So Carter, I need to go back and look, and members of the Finance Committee, you remember, I think Barry, Sue, Dan and I were at the meeting on July 13th or 14th with the select board. And we were talking about something, and the assistant town administrator brought in a line item transfer for debt. I don't know, Irene, if you were there or not.
I think I was in New Jersey with my father.
Okay, so we voted to transfer money between line items, and I thought it was to cover the 71,000. Barry, does that ring a bell to you? Were you at that meeting?
Probably, but I don't recall.
I will forward to you, Mark, the notification that I got from the accountant that when they went through all the consolidated accounts. These are the three that they found.
Okay,
I'm not going to say that there isn't a mistake, but I do want you to at least have the document that I worked
no,
from.
understood. If this is what the accountant is telling you, then we're gonna have to do it. I just thought we did a line item transfer at that meeting to cover this, and I'm confused as to what happened now, but we'll figure it out.
Again, this is essentially a cash flow issue. You've already paid this in fiscal 20, so now we're going to use some free cash and clean that up on the balance sheet.
Oh, because you
And
can't have a
once that-
deficit.
Once those deficits go away in fiscal 21's free cash, you'll get that credit back.
Understood. Okay.
Regrettable, but it's not a true out-of-pocket question.
Go ahead, Barry.
Gopal has a question.
No, I- quick one. Is this just an accounting thing or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you've already paid these. It's basically an accounting issue.
Barry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just checked. The Harvey is in the range of $900,000 for the year. So that 48 or so thousand would appear 1 month's bill that was not paid because the accountant was moving on.
That's probably what happened.
And we have all the bills here. I'll get a better answer from the various department heads, and you're happy to look at the bills as well.
All right, thank you, Carter. Any other questions on Article 5? Okay, moving on to Article 6, the adjustments to the sewer receipts.
This one, I honestly am not totally familiar with. I had hoped that you would go through that with Mr. Canoyer.
Yeah, he didn't know anything about it last night, so he told us to talk to you.
Then all I can tell you is I'm going to get you an answer.
Okay. So we'll hold off on Article 6?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because the sewer is an enterprise account. They do share money with the general fund, part of Paul's salary, the sewer enterprise account. But the
Right.
rest of that stuff, it's like we can't touch their money and they can't touch general fund money.
Mark, can you go back up to Article 11, please?
yes.
We do have you're apparently funded the preparation of these baseline reports out of CPC monies.
Yeah, we covered this last night with the CPC.
Okay, very good.
We're all set with Article 11.
So you'll see where the $4,000 is coming from.
Right.
Yep, understood. Article 12 is the road stabilization 1.5 million transfer.
And my
That's the standard
understanding,
article.
yep, my understanding is that that's a regular fall, and we'll get that motion here in the next day or two.
Perfect. And then jumping
Mark?
ahead, go ahead, Barry.
Just to clarify, to verify, this is $1.5 million that we appropriate, we spend, and then we get Chapter 90 back for the $1.5 million.
No,
No,
this is $1.5 million that we raised back in 2014
this
as
is
part of the 2014 override. And this is appropriated each year by the select board out of taxation, out of that road stabilization fund, which comes from taxation for the purpose of fixing roads. So we do not, this is in addition to Chapter 90. Go ahead, Sue, you had something to say?
No, I was just saying it was override money at the time. This comes from our override money. That's all I was going to say.
Okay, Sue Fiacco?
Yes, please. I'm sorry for jumping back to Article 11. But we had a note from yesterday that to ask Carter about the funding source.
Certified free cash, so.
Thank you. Certified free cash?
You have 900, and Mark has this chart we'll look at the very end. When COVID, it was clear was going to continue for a while, any municipality was given authority upon application to DLR to carry forward unappropriated FY19 free cash. You made that application and you carried forward 916,156. So I'm not relying upon FY20 free cash. This is the carryover of FY19. The accountant did reach out to DOR to verify that it would remain available. If they change that ruling between now and the 19th, then we'll have a different kettle of fish to deal with. Because when you get to the uses of funds, you're going to see that, frankly, it's the only way to fund these unless you reduce operating budgets for transfers.
So from the 916,000, according to this chart that you have here for us, from the 916,000, we're gonna take 57,000 for Article 2. We're gonna take 12,000 for Article 3, 75,000 for Article 4, 4,000 for Article 11, and 75,000 for Article 18 from free cash to fund these. And then the balance remaining in already certified free cash will be 691,766. And then that will roll over to the fiscal 21 certification whenever you file the cash balance sheet to the Department of Revenue, which will be after town meeting, obviously.
Right, that's my understanding, unless they roll it into FY20. It's going to depend upon how the timing hits here, Mark.
Gotcha, gotcha.
May we
Go ahead,
get,
Sue.
may
I'm
we
sorry,
get-
Sue Robbins?
may we get this printout, please?
You have it. Sue,
Yeah, yeah.
Sue emailed it to you.
Oh, I
You-
didn't get
you-
my email.
You may, and it will be amended tomorrow, because now remember, I can't do it here, but under new growth.
Yep.
We have 263,000. We're using 230,000 now as recommended upon your approval.
Yeah.
For Article 1. And at this point, subject to conversations and suggestions you may wish to make on Articles 13 and 19, this is what it would look like. So the overlay would have to become 33,000, Mark.
Okay.
Look at that, the magic of spreadsheets.
That's not the only money's going into overlay, but after a discussion with your assessor, we thought it prudent to bulk up your overlay set aside for this.
How much was the original set aside that we're adding this to, Carter? Do you remember off the top of your head?
300, my understanding is it was around 300,000.
So we want to make it 333?
So this is going to make it on the order of, with the rounding up you get to do at the end of the recap sheet.
Yeah.
This will probably make it 340 and change. You've got about 320 on hand, which is going to make it about 660. But you've got receivables in the 800 plus or minus, and you've got an ATB case pending. So we're probably, I wouldn't consider it technically in any trouble, but from the DOR viewpoint, we're probably borderline of where we should be. And we're gonna have to think for fiscal 21 of moving that 300 set aside up. I wouldn't even want to guess just yet, but I think we're gonna start with a higher number when we put together the fiscal 22 budget.
Understood. Go ahead, Irene.
What was ATV, an ATV case?
ATB, appellate tax board, which means a taxpayer appealed their tax bill, the assessors denied it, and they're taking it to their value and they're taking it to the ATB. So
Okay,
that's
thank
where,
you.
that's where the overlay covers it. Sue Fiacco?
So on Article 3, the fire department, the retirement fund, right now that fund has 12,000 in there. So we'll be using 24.5 for this year.
Bear with me, please.
Yes.
According to the report that I have as of September 23,
Yep.
you have 10,400 in the account.
Okay.
You have an expectation of paying out around 17,000 over the coming year. So that 10 plus 12 is going to make 22, paying out 17. You'll be in the 7,500 plus or minus range. And bear in mind that that is an estimate. These aren't done in arrears. These are prospective. And if someone goes out that you hadn't planned for, you still owe the monies.
Thank you, Carter.
Again, if you'd like to see any of that, just let me know.
Any other questions on that? All right, getting back to the, Cardi, I want to thank you. Considering you were thrown into the fire, you're doing a great job explaining all this stuff to us, and I really, really appreciate it.
I'm just hoping you think as well on my last day here.
Gary might be a little skeptical, but I'm not. Oh, just kidding, Gary.
No, go for it, man.
Just kidding.
So look, I'd like to go back up for a moment because I did not fully fund the 3 requests of the departments. So going down to Article 13.
13. Yes, this was last night. We met with Paul and he
Yep,
said.
the request was for $100,000. Frankly, I was surprised to see requests of this size for a fall town meeting. And I'm frugal, and not so much that the money's not going to be spent at some point, but we don't know what's going to happen with the economy next year, and I'm really trying to shepherd this free cash, giving departments enough to keep them moving forward and meeting their basic needs, but shepherding free cash as much as I can.
He explained to us last night, we talked to Paul about this last night, and I got the sense he was happy with the 50, right, everybody?
Yes. He was.
And that is coming out of the, you had 2 articles, duplicative. You had one from free cash for fire equipment, and then you did one out of your override.
Yes.
Right.
So we're using 52 of the 102 out of that override contingency budget.
So
Well, Paul, go ahead.
we had approved 50,000 yesterday. So are we saying now it's going to go up to 52?
You have 102,000 in the account. And so I gave 52 for the tree removal program and 50 for a cruiser and repairs to the fleet for the police department, thereby depleting the full $102,000 line item as opposed to leaving a couple $1,000s in there.
Yeah, Mark, bringing it up because yesterday we had said 50,000. So that's all. I don't have a
And
problem.
Carter, when we get to the police cruiser article, the finance committee has a question for
Sure.
you. But looking at the numbers tonight, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to deal with that, but we'll get to that in a second. So the next article is the municipal center ramps, which is Article 17, or listed here as it's Article 18. It was Article 19 last night. So Article 18, 75,000. You want to walk us through that?
So the reason it's Article 19 tonight is when the original draft was done, the articles related to the fire department were viewed as 2 articles, and council suggested they be packaged into one. And when we did that, we simply missed the, 16 became 15 and so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
So this is for repairs to the ramps. There's no railings improper railings on 2 of them, and the one coming into the what I believe you refer to as Veterans Hall towards the senior center. It actually
Is that the one wrapped in yellow tape right now?
Yes, it is. It's going out of there in the next week or so. DPW is going to go in and take that out so that we can install a rented ramp that will be in place on or about October 15 in time for early voting. It will remain in place until on or about November 15. Should this article be approved, we'll get it out to bid as expeditiously as possible. Should it not be approved, those temporary rental ramps will remain in place until we can deal with it on a permanent basis. They are about $300 a month. So for the 1 month for the voting, no real concerns, but if we have to keep it out there too long, every month adds up. The original request was for $100,000, and this was reduced to $75,000.
Is that based on calling around and getting quotes?
It's based upon truthfully reducing one of the elements of the request that can be deferred until next capital year.
Okay. Any questions on Article 18 from the Finance Committee?
Yes, I have one, Mark.
Go ahead, Sue.
The 75,000, is that including the temporary ramps? The
No,
cost?
the $300 rental will come out of the operating budget.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else?
Cares.
All right. Article 19, police cruisers. We met with the police chief last night, and he explained to us the situation. He talked about the two cruisers, the one that he wants to replace and the one that needs $5,400 worth of electrical repairs, and whether or not that cruiser would last until next year, and then he would get rid of it next year. And so we felt we were throwing $5,400 away by fixing that particular cruiser, because it would be here for 6 months, and then we trade it in next year when he got his vehicle replacements in next year's budget. So the question that we wanted to ask is there any way we can make that number 88,000 instead of 50,000? And I know you have about $696,000 left in free cash after you do all the transfers. Are you willing to take 38,000 more out of that so that the chief can get 2 vehicles so we can get back on track? That was our thought process last night in talking to the chief. If anybody else on the Finance Committee wants to weigh in on that, please do.
Just correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but I thought the chief said that to get the one vehicle would be 45,000 because he has to get the special equipment to go with that to install into the.
What did I say? I said 44, so it's 45. So we need 90, Carter. We need another 40. Thank
Right.
you, Sue. Thank you for that clarification. Dan, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, so it occurred to me while you were saying the numbers there, it would be about 5,400, I think was the number for, and that should get us through 6 months. Maybe this was a question we should have asked the chief, but it just kind of feels like that's, it sounds like for the time we're getting out of it, if we would expect to not have any more repairs, that would seem like actually a good value compared to replacing.
Heather?
Unless
But I think I would agree with you, except these cars are used so much that I honestly don't think he'll get 6 months out of it.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my, I mean, that just by what he was saying last night, it just seemed like these cars are used so much that I think I don't even know, the mileage was like crazy to me, like what it actually calculated out to.
Yeah, that was the impression that I had too.
Yeah.
Go, Paul?
Yeah, the thing is, I had asked that question, Dan, yesterday, and what the chief said is, it sounds like 5,400 sounds like for small money, but if he trades it in now, he could get somewhere around $5,000. So instead, if we wait another 6 months, so we would have thrown 5,400 against it, we will get probably less than 5,000, which means that net, we will just be
That's right.
throwing money at it.
That was another argument that he had last night. That's a good point. Irene?
What is the useful life of a cruiser? Is it 36 months?
I would say in my history, the useful life of a cruiser is 48 months.
It is 48.
Yep.
Okay, so just because I love to do things like this, if I take 45,000 and I divide it by 48 months, it's 937.5 a month for ownership, which is pretty much what we would spend to repair it, to keep it for 6 months. So Dan, we really wouldn't be saving any money.
Okay.
We'll be spending the same $1,000 a month. And again, that's with rounding, because round numbers are so much easier to deal with.
And the reason I said 48 is the cruiser he wants to trade in is a 2016. So I'm just
Right.
assuming 4 years, but it could,
No,
36 could be the case. Go ahead, go, Paul.
The first one is 2017, but he has an older cruiser that is 2016.
Yeah, and he had said to us that if if it didn't have the problems that it had, he would have gotten rid of the 2016 because there was
That's true.
20,000 more miles on it.
Yeah,
Right.
But he was getting rid of the trouble cruiser, which is the
Right.
2017. So, Irene, it's between 36 and 48 months.
Right, okay, but again, I mean, my purpose for doing it was just to show that there's no real savings.
Okay.
So we might as well just, get the new one. Dan, if it was 2,000 a month to keep a new one versus the 1,000 a month for the old one, that would be a different conversation. But $1,000 a month either way.
So Carter, if we put this, if I reshare my screen
Well,
with your spreadsheet.
if you could, yeah,
So if we were to take, you're taking $50,000 out of the 102 that we did for the fire department. If we were to take another $40,000 out of free cash, knocking that down to 651, how do you feel about that? Because we really want to see, and I think Sue Robbins will probably say this, I'll steal her thunder a little bit. We really want to see this in the operating budget next year. Because we don't ever want to lose or a permanent part of the capital plan each year. Because the way I do it in Groton is it's a permanent part of my capital plan. It's the first $90,000 I spend every year out of capital is to fund the police cruiser program. 601 half dozen another, either make it part of the permanent stabilization override that we did for capital, or put it in the operating budget and make it a permanent part of the operating budget, because replacing 2 cruisers a year we think is very, very important. So
if we can go back to the article, please.
Oh, you want see the article?
Please.
Yep, absolutely.
So let me first say that however you fund it, and there are towns that figure we have to do it every single year, so it should be in the operating budget. We have towns that say, oh my, the operating budget is capped by Prop 2.5, so I'm always going to put it in my capital budget because I rely upon some overlay surplus, some free cash, maybe a little bit of bonding. So where you put it and how you do it really varies from town to town. The larger issue is what I call replace to plan. If you have a lot of cash, and I think I've mentioned this before, and you have ready access to the cash, and you have ready access to the replacement item, working to failure is okay. You got the cash, your piece of equipment dies tomorrow, you go to the local dealer and you buy what you need. None of those things apply to municipalities. Absolutely none of them. And so you need to replace to plan. I don't know how you got off plan. It is unfortunate at best. But based upon what I know of your fleet, you've got roughly 12 or so different types of vehicles. Even if you can domino them down and such, you got to replace the max. You're going to get 6 years by moving frontline patrol vehicles down to lesser duty. So I'm okay with it as long as everybody understands it means free cash goes down. I don't know how.
I have an idea. I have an idea.
Let me just finish.
All right, go ahead.
I don't know how you get off cycle. I kind of hate rewarding bad decisions. But the larger question is your moderator in your town meeting that only you know better. This article that the selectmen approved and signed was drafted as purchasing a police cruiser.
Well, let me ask you a question.
In the motion,
Has the warrant been posted yet?
it has.
Oh, okay.
But the motion doesn't even refer to a police cruiser, doesn't even mention how many. So if we move that to $90,000, and the moderator would not rule it out of order with the posted article, I'm fine.
Well, I have another idea in not touching free cash, and eventually, if we make this part of the permanent capital budget, as part of the override that we did last year, $800,000 was set aside for capital to go into a capital stabilization fund. Selectmen made a decision this year that they weren't going to utilize that 800,000. They're going to wait until the CIPC was up and running and they had their plan and the plan was put in place, and they'd start spending that money. But if we were to make this part of the permanent capital plan each year, which would come from taxation, would it make sense to raise and appropriate the $90,000 for the police cruiser at this meeting so that it's now permanently part of the budget, and then we only appropriate $720,000 or $710,000 out of the capital, out of the stabilization override for the capital? Does that make sense, or am I confusing myself and everybody else?
It does, except for I'm under pretty clear instructions from the select board that they don't want to move any of that 800 onto the
Okay.
tax rate this year. And
Okay.
I did have that very discussion with them. Are we moving, 800 divided by 5, let's say 160 in this year? And the indication I was given was no.
Okay, I'm fine.
The only
Willing
alternative
to take it out of free cash.
is taking it out of free cash or making transfer out of other line items, which then just reduces that availability of that resource during the course of the year if we need it.
So I guess I'll ask the finance committee, are you comfortable with another 40,000 coming out of free cash to fund this? Go, Paul?
Can you help me understand what that impact means? Carter, you said that as long as the finance committee is comfortable with $650,000 as leftover free cash, what does that mean? Meaning to say, what is the risk that we are taking by reducing it further by 40,000?
None really, but I would only do this with your concurrence and recommendation. It would not normally be my predilection to do it, but if this is something you feel strongly about, we have the capital there. So if the finance committee is in accord on doing this, I don't have a problem. I just want to make sure they understand that the free cash that's on Mark's chart he's been sharing goes down from 690 and change to 650. I don't see it having a meaningful impact at the end of the day.
Okay.
I just want people to understand it.
Heather, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I would support it. I just think with the because he would be replacing the newer of the two older cars, I think we're gonna see a large amount of repairs that is just gonna keep rolling in throughout the year. So we might as well just nip it in the bud and take it now and just keep him on his 2-year rotation. And then just Carter will know that next year this has to be part of the operating budget, so we don't have to do this every year.
Mark,
Go ahead, Sue,
I
and then
agree.
Dan, and then Barry.
I agree with I'm sorry if I'm stepping on people's toes. I can't see anybody, so.
No, that's okay, Sue, you're fine.
I have no problem taking it out of free cash and reducing it to 650. And I agree with Heather that we need to get back to that cycle again, which we had for many years, and then it gradually just devolved into where we are now. So I'm comfortable doing that and reducing it to 650.
Dan?
I just wanted to say I'm happy to hear that Carter is not happy that we put ourselves in this situation. This has been an issue that's, I'm in my 3rd year on the finance committee, and this has been something we've been saying we're concerned about every single budget cycle that I've been here for, that we keep pulling things out and putting things in capital or a warrant article that should be in the budget. We and now we made that decision in June to cut the police cruisers, and town meeting supported that, and we supported that. And now we're coming back and saying, well, but we really need them, so we're going to ask you to pay for them now. And want to mean it this time when I say this is the last time I'm going to support doing something like this, because it's just, it feels really like irresponsible to be saying one thing in June and another thing in October when literally nothing changed. We just thought about it more and felt like, yeah, but we really do need it. So it's really frustrating, but I do really feel like this time things are shifting, and I really do feel confident this time that Carter is going to put it in the budget because, well, it was part of the plan for the override money. So I will support this, but it just, tired of supporting it.
Dan, I'm with you 1,000,000%. I agree with everything you just said. You're right. Poor planning. We blew it back in the spring. And I think you're right. I see the same shift that you do.
No, wait a minute.
Go ahead, Heather.
We did not blow it in the spring. We have been asking for this. No,
That's
Mark,
true.
we've been asking it. I've been on this committee for 12 years, and we've been doing this for at least 8 of it. And then just in the last couple of years, he comes back and says, well, we're just going to do it this way this year. And then, so I would not, do not blame us for this, because
Okay.
we have been fighting him
We have, you're right.
for
You're
many
right.
years.
I apologize for my use of the words, and I am duly reprimanded.
I
I'm
know,
duly
Mark, but we're
reprimanded.
all frustrated. We're frustrated about this. We're supposed to have a technology, in the marketing, in the operating budget as well. We're supposed to have a computer turnaround also, which it never seemed to happen.
Yep,
And
that's
so,
true.
and then the budget. Don't get me started on a.
No,
on a five-year
I
budget.
got you. I
Mark.
like it when you fire it up, Heather. Go ahead, Sue. Go
Sorry.
ahead, Sue. No,
Mark,
that's fine with me.
I just want to say to Dan that I disagree on just one point, that we did realize at the time how desperately we needed these cars. And we talked about it, and he refused to agree and ask him and do what we asked him to do. So I agree with Heather. Don't blame the finance committee for this, because we tried to fight for them then. And we've been fighting for them as long as I've been on this finance committee, ever since, the past 12 years. And I think it was just kind of irresponsible that they were taken out in the first place. But anyway, I think we saw the seriousness of it, but we were just, everything was coming. We did 10 weeks of work in 4 days to get
That's
ready
true.
for that June town meeting. So there was a lot to go through. And
That's
so
true.
I think we did the best we could.
And I think Carter's seeing what happened when you try to do 10 weeks of work in
Right.
4 days. Barry, you have been so patient, and I apologize. So please.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just remind me, when we're done with this, we'll have about $650,000 in free cash.
About 640, Barry.
Okay.
No, you're correct. I'm sorry. 650
What's $10,000 among friends?
from FY19.
Right.
Yeah. Does that money, can that money be rolled over into 22, 23, 24? It doesn't go.
What happens when they finally close the books on FY20 and the cash balance sheet is sent into the Department of Revenue to have free cash certified for FY20, the starting balance will be 651 plus whatever we closed out in fiscal year 20, which I don't know how much that's going to be, considering all these transfers that were done and snow and ice deficit wiped out and some other things that were done at the spring. Who knows what the free cash number is going to be, but the starting base of the FY20 certification will be 651. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carter.
No, you're spot on.
So that money sits there for potential use in other places?
Yeah, so we ordinarily, and as you know, Barry, and this is for Andy and Gopal more than anybody else, it had been the history of the Finance Committee. Our free cash usually came in around 1.9, 2.1 million every year. And the town administrator at the time would spend about $1 million of it on the capital budget and always tried to leave a balance of about 900,000 in free cash for emergencies and to carry over to the next year so that he had his $1 million to fund the capital budget. Now we're dipping into that 916 where he had left it last spring. down to 691 for the reasons that Carter has outlined, which are very legitimate and needed reasons. I think we can all agree. I think we all agree to that. So we are hurting our ability for capital next for the spring. However, the one saving grace is we do have that capital stabilization fund that the taxpayers authorized through the override, that $800,000 that's going to be used for capital each year. I believe that's starting in fiscal 21. The board didn't want to use any of it in
Right.
fiscal 22. The board didn't want to use any of it in fiscal 21.
Okay.
Carter, is what I'm saying making sense?
Basically, yep. I
Okay, so-
would like to
Go ahead,
comment on
Carter.
one thing, if I might. It's always a great challenge when communities are looking at how to close a budget gap because nobody wants to cut a service. And it always seems an easier, better choice to cut vehicle replacement, maintenance, because no one wants to cut the services. I get it, but it's a pay me now, pay me later. And I can tell you that with a small fleet of 9 cars in one community where we tried to replace only one every year. The year in which we didn't replace it, vehicle maintenance costs went up in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. You go off warranty, you're putting greater mileage on the other vehicles, you're stressing them out. I understand. It's a difficult choice.
Irene, you had your hand up?
I was just going to kind of pretty much ditto what everyone had been saying. I want to get this done. It should have been an operating. We've been saying that. Dan, I was here a year before you started, and you've heard from Heather and Sue that this has been a yearly thing. Mark, I like the fact that you're thinking creatively, but I did not like the idea of trying to use some of the capital. I think when people agreed to the override, what we were looking at was a backlog of capital projects that has much more to do with our buildings than it does with the yearly replacement of the police cruisers. And I just felt that that's not what they agreed to. And
You're
and
right.
I
You're
would have
100%
been
right.
against that. Again, I like your thinking. You're trying to get this done. No problem with that. But I would have spoken up and said, I'm not in favor of doing it that way. And I much prefer to do it the way that we seem to be heading towards, which is taking it out of the free cash.
Just remember, if I might, Irene, there's a reason it was taken out of the operating budget. It was so you didn't have to cut services someplace else to save that $90,000. That challenge doesn't go away.
I recognize that, but trust me when I tell you that it wasn't just about cutting services. There were a lot of other things going on. We had some very contentious budget hearings. And
Robust.
there were raises and any number of other things happening that go
Yep.
beyond just cutting services. Point taken, and I understand, there's only so much money and it has to be divvied up. You can't create more money, and I recognize that, but it was more than just that.
Well, Mark knows me a little bit, and I'm sure we'll
Year
have
after year.
very frank and forthright conversations, but I hope none of them become contentious.
Barry, did I see your hand up? No? Yes, maybe? I'll say no. All right, great. Are there any other questions for Carter? And again, Carter, the amount of information that you have been able to bring forward to us in such a short period of time is greatly appreciated. And I'm going to tell you, and I said this to you a month ago, I'm going to say it to you again. This is the most information and best discussions we've ever had with the town administrator in the 4 years I've been on the finance committee. So I want to thank you very much for everything you're doing for us.
I agree.
We'll get these cleaned up over the next day or so. Joanne will be in tomorrow. We'll get these motions out to you no later than next Tuesday in their final form. And then we'll get you the additional information both on the debt and on those late bills so that you have it in hand for town meeting.
Perfect. Excellent. I don't want to keep Carter all night. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Carter,
Sue.
you said we would have those motions by our meeting on October 6th?
That's my intent. Joanne's in tomorrow. So I'll work on the motions that, I concentrated on the motions that were money.
Yep.
Tonight. So I'll work with Joanne a little bit tomorrow and what time she has available to her. I'm back in on Tuesday, so I'll finish them up. I expect to be able to have everything out to you by the 6th. I'll work with department heads to get some additional information on debt and the late bills. And I should be able to have the memoranda out to you by 10/13. Those would be.
Have all the corrected numbers for us to write our recommendations by
Yes, that's
before Tuesday?
before Tuesday? No. By close of,
On Tuesday, I think, Sue, is what he
by
said.
close of business Tuesday, yes.
So we're going to be cutting it close, Mark, writing recommendations.
Well, the town meeting is on the 19th. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah.
We can write, Sue, can we, because I know we've had a couple years that we've had a tight deadline. Susan and Sue, can we just write the recommendation? Because I think that we will agree, recommend that we do pass these, but we just have to drop numbers in.
Right.
Is that okay? We don't have to finalize our recommendation until Tuesday,
Tuesday.
but we can at least kind of give it, put a template together. So I don't know.
So when,
I think we're in good, sorry, Sue, I think we're in a good position to take positions
That's what,
on
yeah,
these
that's what,
articles, understanding the ramifications. I don't think the numbers are going to change dramatically.
and we can always
between now.
reconsider.
Correct. We can always reconsider, but I don't think the numbers are going to change dramatically, Sue.
I mean, if all you're looking for me to do is to double check the addition and make sure the right numbers are in the right places, and I've revised this sheet 6 that we shared with Mark, I'm thinking I could have that out to you by close of business tomorrow. That's, I was
that would be helpful.
speaking of the balance of the motions that I can't get finished until October 6th.
Yeah,
What do you mean
I'm not overly concerned with the motions until town meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
We just want the numbers.
Just
We
the
need,
numbers matter, and I think the numbers are good.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with a good cup of joe or two in the morning and a fresh start, I can get this stuff out to you tomorrow without much problem.
Thank you, Carter. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything else I can do for you folks?
Go ahead, Gopal. No, Carter, hold on, Gopal, one last second. Carter, I think we're good with you. You've given us a lot of your time tonight. I don't want to hold you up. You're welcome to stay unless Gopal has a direct question for you.
Yeah, I just
Go
have
ahead.
clarification for Carter. So we have all agreed that it's 90,000 for the police cruisers, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what you all agreed, and I'm happy to accommodate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Okay, folks.
Appreciate your time.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Finance Committee. Now that we've gone through all of this, and it was a really good discussion, great questions, great information, I think, is the Finance Committee ready to take positions on the remaining articles on the warrant based on the information we have tonight? All right, so let's go back to Article 1, and that's adjusting the operating budget. And let me share my screen again so we can see the numbers. Don't get dizzy. All right, so in this article, this number is now 230, and we've suggested that this number go to 150, so that
Right.
this number is 230. So I'm very comfortable with that, and yeah, there might be a minor shift here or there once he gets the final elections and registration numbers done, but I think the 230,000 is a good number there. And then this is actually 20,000, not 25,000 for the fire department. Was it, oh, wait a minute. Was it 25,000?
20,000.
It was 20,000. It was 20,000. Yep. For the fire department transfer. And then a $300,000 reduction in excluded debt based on what the town meeting appropriated in the spring versus what the actual number is. And again, as Sue said, that was 10 weeks worth of work in 4 days. And that's why you had these types of these types of issues because the information wasn't forthcoming at the time. So go ahead, Barry.
The line that says, to meet said appropriation from taxation sounds different from what we've seen in the past. What did we, is it different and did we use something?
Nope, nope, nope. It's what Carter said is, this is the way he's written motions in the
Yes.
towns that he's been at. But he understands that we may do things a little bit differently here in Grafton, and he'll accommodate our style when he goes to write the final, but it is coming from taxation.
Yeah, we just say raise and appropriate.
Correct.
Right.
Same thing.
Okay, the raise and appropriate line item starts calling out separate articles when you come to the actual budgeting. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yes, Sue.
We've had these conversations in the past to have an A, B, and C in one article has caused a little bit of angst amongst the finance committee members since, you know, they are, the funds go to different areas of the budget.
There's nothing wrong with doing it this way.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think it's actually more, I think it's actually makes more sense.
I kind of agree with you, Heather. Kind
As
of
long
agree.
as the accounting department puts it where it's supposed to go, then that's great.
This is very clear where the money needs to go.
Mhm.
And then B, we talked about, and C. So are there any motions anybody wants to make on this article?
I had a quick question, Mark.
Yes, go, Paul.
What exactly, can you help me understand, this is for my knowledge, elections
Sure.
administration, what is that?
That is, the town clerk has two budgets that she's responsible for, her regular operating budget, and then the elections budget, in which we pay for the election workers, the ballots, anything related to the election, any personnel used, any expenses relative to the elections. That's what that line, that's what that budget is. And when you get into the operating budget this year, you'll see how those are all funded. But this is this is actually a town clerk line item to run the elections.
Thank you.
And because of early voting and COVID and the need to do a lot of stuff and the state changing in the ballots and how they're being mailed in and everything else, more personnel is needed. It's put a lot of pressure on the town clerk's office. Any motion, anybody wants to make a motion or not?
Yeah.
Just, I need a clarification.
Yep, go ahead.
This 20,000 for B, would you explain that again?
Yeah, what they did is they hired a company to monitor the permitting. And so they need to, they're paying this company to do it for them. And so they can't pay it out of salaries. So they needed to transfer it into expenses, and there's enough money left in the salary line item that the fire chief is comfortable taking out of salaries and moving it into expenses to cover that cost.
So this was for permitting or inspections?
Inspections, I'm sorry, did I say permanent? It's the same. What's that company that they hired?
I don't remember offhand, but if it's for inspections, okay.
Make the motion.
Go ahead.
I move that the Finance Committee recommend passage of Article 1 such that $230,000 will be raised and appropriated, and $20,000 will be transferred from the Fire Department personnel account to the Fire Department expense account, and $303,320 will be deducted from the debt excluded interest.
Is there a second?
Second.
Right, any further discussion? And by the way, the name of the company is Four Leaf. That's the company
yes.
that's doing the thing. Any further discussion, Barry?
Yeah, I remember why I have difficulty with this kind of article. And usually they're represent, and it was at the last minute. I agree. I would really like to see these as three separate articles. Let's go for it. That's it.
In the future, we can express that to the town administrator.
Yeah.
Right?
You
Okay,
know,
any further?
mostly because this was where there was, you know, maybe 5 things that were going to be purchased, And one of them really, you didn't want it. And I can only think of, no, I'm not going to go into the one I can think of. It just, they're spending for significantly different things. And I think they really should.
But
be
But
treated
Barry,
differently.
they are all operational expenses, and that's why
they
it's
are.
under the title, adjust the FY21 operating budget. You'd have to have 3 separate articles. There's no problem having 3 separate motions within that article.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Andy, you look perplexed. Do you have a question?
No, I'm taking it all in.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
go Paul,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
and Mark, I declare it a unanimous vote. Moving on to Article 2, prior fiscal year bills. I got a real problem with this one. Yeah, go
Hold on.
ahead. Sorry.
Barry was waving his hand.
Go ahead, Barry.
Oh, I just wanted to let you know, there are no open questions, no answered questions, and no dismissed questions.
Thank you, Barry. Barry, you're doing such a great job.
Before we move on, having decided to recommend it, do we want to choose who's writing the
Oh,
recommendations?
good point. I'm sorry, Irene. Yes. Is there a volunteer, Andy, to write the recommendation on? Look at the look on his face.
Now it's confusion.
Is there a volunteer to write that one?
I'll tackle this one.
Thank you very, very much. Article 2, $57,230 in unpaid bills for town meeting. As frustrating as it is that this happened, there really isn't anything we can do about it. We have to pay these bills. The town incurred the debt, so therefore we should pay them. The money would have been paid if the bills had come in on time. I don't understand how this happened, but
I
go
move
ahead.
that we recommend passage of this article as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second by Heather. Any further discussion, Barry?
Yeah. We already raised and appropriated the money for these things. So wouldn't it be, I move that we pay these bills?
That
No,
is what it
you
says.
can't. Yeah, you're paying these bills, but you have to take the money out of free cash to pay them because the bills, the money that was set aside in the fiscal year 20 budget closed out. And you can't pay a bill after July 15th. That's the last day the accountant can run a warrant. So-
Okay, I
Barry,
thought there was, yeah.
if you look at the wording, it says appropriate. It doesn't say raise and appropriate. It does just say appropriate.
This here is, this is the key line right here. And to meet said appropriation by transfer from certified free cash.
There it is. Yep, okay.
See, we say transfer from available funds, which is free cash, but,
Yeah, but that's the motion there.
right.
Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Mark, I. Volunteer to write this one?
I had been volunteered in the beginning, so I will stay with it.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Article 3, $12,500 for the fire department retirement account. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend passage of Article 3 in the amount of $12,500 to transfer from available funds to the fire department retirement account.
And
Second.
that transfer will come from free cash. Heather seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Mark, I. Call that unanimous. I believe we took care of, oh, anybody want to write that one, Barry?
I did write it.
Oh, you already wrote it. Good.
Yeah,
This is one of our standard ones, routine
Yeah.
ones.
That's true. Okay, moving on to Article, we took care of 4 last night, right? We did that one last night. Yep, so Article 5, the operating budget. I really want to understand what that line item transfer is that we did in June when we met with the select board. We came in to talk about financial policies. The assistant town administrator came in at the 11th hour with a line item transfer for debt service in that amount of money. We voted it, the select board voted it as a line item transfer, and now it's wrong? I don't
Did it
understand
ever-
what
I
happened.
remember
Did it ever
that.
actually happen?
Well, that's the question, Heather. That's why I'm very confused by that
No, it
71,000.
did happen. It did happen. I can't get onto my computer here right at the moment to help you to tell you exactly what the minutes were. But it was the very last day that it could happen, and it was the interest on the debt that had to be paid. By that day, I believe it was 129,000 or something crazy.
Oh, I got, for some reason, that
What
number
was the date of
71.
the meeting?
It was
July-
July 13th, I think.
July 13th or July 15th.
It was the Tuesday, no, it was Tuesday, July 14th. And I'll tell you why I know it was a
That's
Tuesday. I
right.
played golf that night.
It
So it
was
was Tuesday,
after
July
town meeting?
14th.
We did this after town meeting?
Yeah, what
Oh, yeah.
happens is, under the Municipal Modernization Act, the Finance Committee and the Select Board, before July 15th, can vote to do line item transfers within the
right.
budget.
Right.
So we were meeting with the Select Board on the 14th for a totally different matter. It was specifically to talk about financial policies. And the assistant town administrator came running in at the last minute and said, I need you to do this line item transfer.
Right.
And we voted to do it, and it was for debt. So I'm really confused as to why now there's another $71,000 problem here. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. But anyway, that said, Carter's recommending this article. I don't think we have a choice. We've got to balance out the budget. You can't run deficits in municipal government. You either raise it on the recap sheet or you do what he's doing here under this article. So I entertain a motion to recommend approval of this article as presented. Is there a motion? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would just like to see if we can't get some explanation because people are going to ask.
Of course.
And it's going to be difficult to write this recommendation without really understanding.
Well, Carter did say tonight he'd get us more information.
All right.
We will, excuse me, Mark, I will have the information to you for tomorrow morning, or if not tonight. It was a transfer from debt principal to debt interest.
Correct. Yeah, I remember that.
But it was a payment that was overdue. That's all I can tell you on that area.
Yeah, so now, according to this, there's another $71,000 that was missed.
So it looks like that particular payment on the actual debt was never paid.
That's
Exactly.
what it looks like to me.
The accounting firm picked up the interest amount due, but apparently hadn't gone back far enough to realize that there was another payment that was missed.
How do we miss debt payments? I don't understand how that could ever happen.
Well, if you realize again, there's been such fluctuation going on, and that department has been absent for almost a year. And the assistant, she's not an assistant town accountant, but she's the administrative assistant. She's been holding the fort as she delivered a baby in July. So you can understand that June was an extremely harried time. I'm not making excuses for her. I'm just saying there was a whole lot going on. And our town accountant was allowed to leave prior to closing, even giving the end of year notice to any departments. It was a
All right.
really trying time.
So I
can
think
imagine.
this was just 1 month that was totally overlooked
I agree.
All right.
because there was just so much going on in the town accountant's office and there was nobody there for a couple of weeks. So I'm not surprised that they missed this.
All right. Go ahead, Barry.
I thought principal and interest were paid 2 times a year.
That's why I'm confused, Barry.
So the interest was around 2.5 million. And the expenses, the actual debt that you're paying on the bonds is in the range of almost 4 million. So maybe they want it once a month, but that number just seems to be odd.
Well, maybe
And,
it's a, because I like you're looking at the total number. She might not look at the total number. She might look at pieces, and you're just looking at the pieces added together. So she might have missed one thing,
Yeah,
one
that's
note,
true.
one, which makes sense, because if she, again, she's a,
Okay.
I'm not, yeah, it's like I'm same with Sue. You can't really make excuses, but at the same time, she was sort of like thrown to the fire. I mean, here you go. Run the department as an administrative assistant. I mean, come on.
And you're on maternity leave.
And yeah, and you're 9 months pregnant.
Exactly. I would have more of a problem, to be very honest with you, with the street light program, since we use street lighting savings to pay for our snow and ice this year.
So I think what we did is we transferred too much money out of streetlights at the end of the year to cover snow and ice, and that ran a deficit in that account.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
probably what happened there, Sue. So,
Right.
yeah. This is what happens when you wait until the last minute to put a budget together. And I have a feeling that's not going to happen this year with Carter. That's my feeling.
I hope.
This is
not.
what
All
happens.
right, so.
Estimated at about
This is what happens with
62,000.
COVID too. So I mean,
Yeah,
again, I don't
COVID
want
too.
to make,
I got you.
I don't want to, I mean, I have to apologize for, I'm a little heated tonight. So I apologize. I feel like I have Tourette's, but there's
Well,
so
you
many,
already yelled at me once tonight, Heather. I just want to point that out.
and I usually don't even talk during these things. But honestly,
Very quiet.
it's so frustrating because I mean, we all have similar backgrounds, and it's like, how can this happen? Like,
I
it's so
know.
frustrating. So I apologize for my,
You don't need to apologize. I'm just giving you a hard
outburst.
time. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Heather is upset if she's talking this much.
seriously, I never talk this much.
I know you
I
don't.
like it when you, like I said, Heather, I love it when you fire it up.
You've just
Um,
holding it. She's been holding this in for 12 years.
Right?
Finally, you leave.
When I see Heather tomorrow walking her dog outside my house, I will socially distance and cross the road.
That's right. Stay clear. Stay clear.
Hey, listen, as a point of interest, what I've been doing is I've been searching because I was determined to find this. I think I have the original line item change that was presented to us. Sue, if you can give me permission to share my screen, I will bring that up.
I think you can without permission, right?
Yes, it's wide
Yeah,
open.
down below, it's a green arrow.
Okay, but whoever's sharing it now has to turn it off.
Oh, I have to stop sharing. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Please.
Go ahead.
Okay, so bear with me for a second. And here it is.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, okay, I get it. It's
um,
191,000.
yeah,
So how all of a sudden is there another 71,000? That was my only point.
Because somebody fell asleep at the wheel.
that's what I came up with.
Mhm.
And let me, oops. Okay.
This
Yeah,
was
somebody-
found on
somebody-
the cusp
Somebody
of
fell
the-
asleep.
This was
All right.
found on the cusp of the night before. of
All right,
the-
let's move, let's not beat a dead horse on this one. Let's move on to
Agreed.
the thing. So
Yeah.
we have a vote, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye by roll call. Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Mark, aye. I declare that unanimous. Sue, if I can have, Irene, if I can have the screen back?
Yep, hold on, sorry.
Mark, could we
I was
please?
looking to see if I had anything else. Give me a second.
Okay. Mark, can we get the, who motioned and who seconded, please?
I believe Dan motioned and Heather seconded.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm even paying attention. Okay, I think we need to hold off on taking a position on Article 6 until we get an understanding. Reading this, it looks like we over appropriated the amount of money coming from taxation to fund the sewer budget. And that's for the town share of whatever our town share is versus what was taken from sewer receipts. But I'm not comfortable taking a position until I hear the reason. So I would like to make a recommendation that the finance committee defers this recommendation until town meeting. Give
Town
Carter a
meeting,
few
or
weeks.
do you want to do
Well,
it on
it's-
Tuesday?
We could do it on Tuesday, but if we don't have it,
Well, can we
um,
ask Matt? Wouldn't he know? He doesn't know?
ooh, Matt,
Paul,
Paul, you mean.
Paul, excuse me, well, yeah.
We asked him the other night. He didn't know. We
Oh,
asked him last night. He said Carter will explain it to us. And Carter said, I hope Paul would explain it to you.
run around.
So I'm not comfortable until I understand, because when I read this, it makes it sound like we're freeing up $230,000 of levy capacity.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But I
That's
don't
what
think
it
that's I don't think that's the case, because Carter's not counting on this 230,000 anyway.
So why don't we wait until Tuesday and
Okay.
hopefully Carter will
Yeah.
get more information. If he doesn't, then we can hold off on
All
it.
right, we'll come back to that article. Fair point. Article 12, the road stabilization, 1.5 million. I'd entertain a motion to approve this article or recommend this article.
Second,
Oh, so moved.
So moved.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor by aye, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Paul,
aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Mark, aye, unanimous. Then jumping ahead,
Wants to write it.
I have it written.
Do
now
it.
that's an annual article. I assumed you did.
Right.
Article 18, which is building repairs for the municipal center, the $75,000 for the ramp, which I think is definitely needed. I'd entertain a motion to recommend the finance committee approve that as presented.
I recommend, Finance Committee recommends passage of Article 18 in the amount of $75,000.
Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call? Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Mark, aye. Moving on to the last article, Article 19.
Who's gonna write it?
Oh, yes, who wants to write Article 18? Anyone? All right, I'll do it. I'll do 18. And then finally, Article 19. Now, the way I understand how he's going to fund this 90,000 is 50,000 is going to come from the fire department equipment article from the Springtown meeting, and 40,000 is going to come from free cash for a total of $90,000.
That's
And I
what I
think that makes a
understand.
lot of sense. Andy, you have your hand up? Go ahead.
I did have a question on this because I found the chief's explanation interesting last night, and I had written down that he said specifically 37,790 for the cruiser and 11,000 for equipment, and we said that was roughly 45.
We want 2 cars for 90.
I thought he said 33 and 11 last night.
Was it
I
that?
thought he said 33 and 11, and if you did the hybrid, it would be $4,000 more.
Correct.
Okay, my misunderstanding then.
No, that's all right.
Andy, I remember that because I thought it was 90,000 per cruiser, and that was for 2.
Right.
And I had got a clarification, 33 plus 11, 44 times 288.
Okay.
And we rounded it up to 90.
I was higher on 37 then because I was concerned that we were going to be off by, just requesting 90 and as opposed to closer to 98.
Because he did quote 790 for the cost for a car, because I
Correct.
asked. So, and then 11,000 for all the added things they have to put in.
So that's how we got the 45 and the 45
Right.
to 90.
And
Right.
hopefully if they could get, if they could trade at least one of the cars in, they'll get a little bit back.
Yep, and then we can close that out to free cash or use it
Yeah.
to fund something next year.
Yep.
All right, will somebody make that motion?
I recommend the finance committee to approve this as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye by roll call. Oh, go ahead, Dan, before we vote.
Should the motion include an in the amount of
Oh, in
90?
the amount of 90,000. Yeah, Sue, can you make sure that's in the motion?
Yes.
Paul, will you accept that as a friendly
Yes.
amendment? And who seconded that? Heather, would you accept
did,
that as a?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Mark, I gotta tell you guys, this was two great meetings and a lot of good information over the last couple of days. So thank
Mark
you
was
so much
writing
for
this
your time.
one.
I thought I heard Irene say she would write it.
I'm writing enough.
Anybody want to take that one on? Barry?
I try to stay as far away from the police as I can, but okay, I'll write it.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate it. So anyway, I want to thank all of you for the last 2 nights. I thought these were 2 great meetings, a lot of information. So Tuesday night, we will meet and it won't be a long meeting. It'll be pretty quick. We'll hopefully get a sewer explanation. We'll see the numbers from Carter to balance out those articles to make sure the numbers were correct. Is there anything else, Sue, that we need to do Tuesday night? Because I'm expecting a 15, 20-minute meeting tops.
Well, that would be wonderful. That, no, there isn't anything else that we
Are
have
we going
to
to
do.
go over the recommendations on Tuesday?
Yes, that's what that day is
Okay.
for.
So you'll get those out to us. If we can get all of the recommendations to Sue by
Sunday.
Sunday, she'll get out the final recommendations. So she sent a lot of them out to us today. I saw a lot of those that came through. I don't want to spend a lot of time wordsmithing and all of that. I'd like to really focus on, are we comfortable with it? So if you have a concern prior to the meeting, please get that to Sue before the meeting. And if she can touch up articles, if there are minor changes, then we can see a final draft on Tuesday.
And
Go ahead, Barry.
And when you send out your
Oh, sorry.
link, please make sure that mine says panelist.
It-
Mine can say panelist.
We kind
I'm
of
sorry, Sue,
like you here. We kind of like you the way you are right now, Sue. I don't know if
I thought you guys might, but
You are on as panelist. I have no idea why there's a hiccup.
it was
Sue,
not-
you're like,
it
Sue,
did
you're
not
like the voice
say
of God. We can't see you, so you're like the voice of God.
I know. I'm your angel here. I know. But usually when you sent it out, it said panelist. This time it did not. And even the one that was for an hour before didn't say panelist.
Yeah, I don't understand what happened.
That's
We'll
why
figure
you
that
need
out.
to call me. Anytime you guys have something like that, please call me and I'll send it again. And everything says panelists. There are some, Zoom is not perfect. Susan Fiacco's not perfect either, but.
Well,
Zoom is-
I disagree with that. I think Susan Fiacco was perfect. Barry, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, Article 20, the select board has already approved one car for 40, 45,000, whatever. And we are going to recommend 2 cars for 90,000.
Yes.
What operationally happens then at town meeting?
What I'm going to
Motion
hope
say one
happens,
car.
what I'm going to hope happens is that Carter goes to the select board and says that the finance committee would like to see 2 cruisers. Would the select board be willing to reconsider their recommendation? That's what I hope happens.
Okay.
And if
well,
it doesn't
there-
happen, we'll fight on the floor of town meeting with the selectmen.
oh,
But
there you go.
remember, we do have the meeting on October 15th. It's a joint meeting and it's at 7 PM and it's a Zoom webinar.
Okay.
When is that?
October 15th, which is a Thursday.
And are we expected to attend that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't see anything come through. Was anything sent, Sue?
It was sent, yesterday it was in your packet as an update, but we wanted to make sure that we mentioned it tonight. We just got the information from the town moderator that the date has been set
And it is
Okay.
7? At 7, Sue?
at 7,
At
Yeah.
7?
October
So-
15th at 7 PM, Zoom webinar.
I just have a request, and feel free to say no if this creates a lot more work for you. Any chance you can send this as a calendar invite with the Zoom information?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, then don't
Not
bother.
everyone
Okay.
does Google. I did start sending things to Google in the spring and it created some problems for some,
Okay, no
but
problem. So 15th at 7, you said?
yes.
Is Cindy sending out the
I
Zoom?
thought did I get the
I
Zoom
am.
invite for the 15th?
Oh, you
You're
are.
sending it out, okay.
Yes, it's going under finance committee.
Okay.
Finance committee's gonna be the webinar host. Not that we're
Okay.
going to actually be the host of the meeting, but it'll be under our Zoom webinar.
And Heather, don't forget, you and I have a meeting that Wednesday night, the 14th, with the search committee.
Yep.
Okay. Any other, I guess my next question, Sue, do we need to continue the public hearing or can we close it?
We need to continue the public hearing to Tuesday, 10/6, please.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Second,
All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
aye.
Heather,
aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Mark, aye. I declare that a unanimous vote. Being no other business before the Finance Committee, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So move.
All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Mark, aye. Thanks, everybody. Great meeting. We'll see you
I was
on
making
Tuesday.
faces